Label-wise, you know how I feel, that I'm not a big fan of them, but they often refer to you as an independent progressive. What does that mean? I thought you were a lefty.
So I'm on the left for sure. I think independent in the sense that I'm not part of, the mainstream media.
So he's not on the left. So is he on the right? Maybe he's a centrist? And why doesn't he clarify, how can you be a progressive and then make a statement like claiming that you're not on the left and then not let us know where you are? If you're not on the left, where are you? You can't just say you're not on the left being a progressive and then not say where you are. I'm not on the left. I'm what? You're independent, but ideologically, where are you? Kind of weird.
In the most simplistic terms, you're either on the left or the right. Either left or right, that's it. Get a little bit more resolution, you're either left, right, or you're center. Get more resolution, then you have things like right wing, center right, centrist, center left, and then left wing. But if you're using one of the most basic terms as left, right? Because I'm not saying where on the left spectrum you are, just left. If that's the term you're using, then the only alternative is right. If you're not on the left, you're on the right. So is he a right winger? Or the other system where you're using that term left is one where you might say left, center, and right. So is he saying he's in the center? But even again, with center, you have center left, center right.
And the thing about it is, there's a little bit of a conflict, because if he was a centrist, which many people might consider him to be, then, okay, you're not on the left, you're in the center, but why didn't you say that? Why do you just say not on the left and then you don't say where you actually are? But then you also say you're a progressive. Progressive is not in the center. This guy does politics for a living. You'd think he knows about ideology. You'd think he understands the perspective of left versus right, and also center, and also where progressives fit into that. So what are we actually experiencing here? Is he actually that confused about the very thing that he makes his living doing, politics? Or is he playing games? You decide.
So I'm on the left for sure. I think independent in the sense that I'm not part of, the mainstream media as we know it. I mean, I don't have a boss. I do everything on my own. I kind of rely on my own. I don't get to hide behind a network when I'm saying something. So I think that amps up the pressure on those of us in the independent space, because I don't get to lean on some broader network to give me cover if something goes wrong. It's my reputation on the line if I say something wrong, if I do something wrong. So but that's what I think we go by in terms of like the independent progressive. I'm a progressive. I'm also in the independent space.
So you are a Democrat.
I would consider myself a Democrat, yeah.
And is it unfair for me to say that progressive Democrat...
This represents how far we have fallen as a country. Mainstream media is dominated by propaganda. Independent media, even more so. Our country is so dominated by propaganda that we've become numb to it, that most people won't recognize, even though it was very clear and very overt. Most people won't recognize that Chris Cuomo just described Brian Tyler Cohen as a propagandist. If you listen to the way he described him, this fits the definition of propaganda. But most people in this country, again, our country is so just overwhelmed with propaganda all over the place that we're numb to it. We're like a nation where, brutal nation where there's killings all over the place, that you hear about a murder and it doesn't necessarily, you don't necessarily react to it. It's just kind of like, okay, that's just another day, right? Chris Cuomo, and there's so many other issues with this as well, but Chris Cuomo says that Brian Tyler Cohen is an activist. Right, so he's not doing journalism, he's doing activism. That right there, major red flag, major clue in terms of what he actually is. Exactly what I've been saying he is, a propagandist.
A propagandist is someone who produces or spreads propaganda, a person who spreads ideas, facts, or allegations deliberately to further a cause or to damage an opposing cause. Propaganda is ideas, facts, notice the word facts, or allegations spread deliberately to further one's cause, the election of Democrats and the growth of the progressive movement, to further one's cause or to damage an opposing cause, damage the Republican Party, damage conservatives, damage the conservative movement. He's not there to inform us about what's happening in the world or what's happening in politics. He's there to promote the Democratic Party and progressivism, just like right-wing media seeks to do the opposite. Pretty much, propaganda is synonymous with American media because that's pretty much all we get at this point. There's almost no one that is out there seeking to simply inform us about what's happening in the world, as opposed to promoting one side over the other.
So he describes him as an activist, and he references how he has a mission of trying to show how his side is better, right? So he's on a side. He's not just informing you. He's on a side, right? Not unlike the job that Chris Cuomo did when he was on CNN, right? So I guess it's not so strange that Chris Cuomo, after describing this guy as a propagandist, says that it's refreshing. That's the level of propaganda we have in this country, that you could, with a straight face, describe someone accurately as a propagandist and then say it's refreshing. That's what we need more of. People in echo chambers, people in tribes, people only getting half the story, right? Brian Tyler Cohen, everything that's great about the Democrats and everything that's bad about the Republicans. Not so much about what's wrong with the Democrats or anything good with the Republicans, right? The purpose is not to inform people, not to pull them into reality, which gives you the full scope, right? So all the problems with the Democrats as well as the good of the Democrats, right? He doesn't want to pull you into that, right? That's reality. He wants to pull you into this artificially created world where the Democrats are the good guys, Republicans are the bad guys, right? And a lot of the negatives of the Democrats are just not mentioned, right? So they're therefore omitted. Therefore, he is presenting a Democratic Party that is far better than they actually are, right? He's misleading people into this false reality of what the Democrats are, not unlike what right-wing media does with the Republican Party, right? You see a lot of Republican corruption. The right-wing media are silent about it, just like Brian Tyler Cohen is silent about it, right? Imagine Brian Tyler Cohen doing a video about a corrupt Democrat. Did he do a video about that guy? What is it, Henderson or whatever? When's the last time he did a story about any corrupt Democrats, right? If you watch his content, you would think the Democrat Party is a great party, good people, right? Fighting for the American people, not bought off by donors or, possessing, corruption all over the place, right? That's the Republican Party, right? That's the distorted reality that Brian Tyler Cohen presents to his audience. And Chris Cuomo says that's refreshing, right? Then even look at the end where I think Chris asked him if he's a Democrat or something like that. And then Brian Tyler Cohen responds with, I consider myself a Democrat. I don't want to get into what is a woman, but I would never say I consider myself to be a man. I would never say I consider myself to be alive. I would never say I consider myself to be recording a video right now for YouTube, right? Either you are or you aren't a Democrat, right? I mean, is he or is he not registered as a Democrat? Has he not been a Democrat for some time? I mean, just think about how broken this is. You are a Democrat activist interviewing the president of the United States, pushing people to vote for Democrats, attacking the Democrat opponents. And clearly you're a Democrat as well. I mean, to do all that work and you're not even a Democrat. And then your response is, yeah, I consider myself to be a Democrat. Listen, someone asked me if I'm a Democrat. The answer is no. The answer is I'm an independent. Extremely so. That's what I am. I'm an independent. I wouldn't say, oh, you could consider me an independent. No, either I am or I'm not. I'm an independent. That's what I am. Brian Tyler Cohen is a Democrat. So why does he speak in this manner? What game is he playing as a DNC propagandist whose job is to tell us how great the Democratic Party is, how bad the Republicans are, and get more people to vote for more Democrats, right? Which has the bonus effect, depending on your perspective, of helping people like Donald Trump to win, right? Because when you continue to give the Democratic Party cover, right, you present this false image of what they are, right? That allows them to get away with giving us crumbs, the bare minimum, right? Because the bad things that they do, they're, wherever they fall short, this guy fills that gap by keeping that information away from the voters, right? Making them only see, because he always has this long list, infrastructure bill and this and that, and all the stuff that Joe Biden did, right? So again, if you're watching his content, the Democrats are the greatest. They're doing great work, right? If you are an apologist, you'll respond to this video and say, no, I've heard Brian Tyler Cohen criticize the Democrats many times. I've heard him criticize the Democrats many times, all right? just like the right-wing propagandists criticize the Republican Party many times, right? It's always very softball, right? It's very inconsequential. Like if I'm watching his content and I'm thinking about who to vote for, all of his criticism of the Democratic Party would not have much of an impact at all, because he always makes sure that his criticisms are always like minor stuff. It's like these guys that do reviews on electronics, and they get money behind the scenes, or they get free products behind the scenes, and they want to keep that going. So they do this great review. Oh, it's a great product and this and that, and I love it. This is awesome. It's so awesome, right? And then they do their fake criticisms. They say stuff like, I don't know, they could have done a better design. It looks kind of similar to the last model. And it's kind of like, after you've told me all these amazing things about how great this product is, and now your main critique is the colors. See, that's how somebody like Brian Tyler Cohen can basically essentially not tell you the negatives of the Democratic Party, but yet pretend like he actually is, and the apologists fall for it. And they will listen to a video like this and tell me that I'm wrong, not realizing I've heard exactly what they've heard. I've heard his so-called criticisms of the Democratic Party, and they amount to basically nothing. Just like how he would tell you statistically, election fraud, it's non-existent, right? And he'll get all scientific and let you know the reality. And this is the truth. Nobody's wrong about this. That there has been election fraud, and there's always been election fraud. But again, statistically speaking, it's so small that it's essentially none, right? Because it's like near zero or something like that, right? So statistically speaking, Brian Tyler Cohen does not critique the Democratic Party. He only praises them because he is an activist. That's how he was described by Chris Cuomo, and no pushback from him. No, I wouldn't say I'm an activist. I'm a journalist. And no, he didn't challenge it at all. He was accurately described as a propagandist without actually using that word. And he was described this way by another propagandist who's trying to find a new lane of propaganda, right? I think he's trying to enlighten centrist propaganda mode. So he was described this way, no pushback whatsoever. So it must be true. So apparently all the things that I've said about Brian Tyler Cohen are true. He's smart. He does excellent content in terms of, if you are trying to decide on who to vote for and you want to know what are the reasons to vote for Democrats, Brian Tyler Cohen will give you some great information. And for the most part, it'll be pretty accurate, right? Unlike right-wing media, they will lie to you to sell you Trump, right? Because Trump is so bad, you have to lie, basically, to sell him. Brian Tyler Cohen sells the Democratic Party using truth in terms of the positive that he says. But he also sells them using lies. And the thing is that it's not just overt lies, it's lies of omission. By him not telling you, focusing on the positives and omitting most of the negatives, he's essentially lying to you, because the Democratic Party that he presents is not the Democratic Party, right? You have to go elsewhere to find out the problems. Like if you want to make a decision about whether you're going to vote for Democrats, you can go to Brian Tyler Cohen to learn the reasons why you should, but you need to go elsewhere to find out the reasons why you should not. People who are honest and have integrity and aren't propagandists, they will give you the full reality. Here's the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Democrats. Here's the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Republicans. And I leave it to you, my audience, to decide who you want to vote for. Kind of like how I do things on my channel. I'm not promoting Democrats. I'm not promoting Republicans. I'm not promoting the left or the right. I always tell my audience the absolute truth. I want to connect you with reality. I want you to unplug from propagandists like Brian Tyler Cohen and Chris Cuomo and Tim Pool and Ben Shapiro, who give you this distorted view of reality. I want you to unplug from those guys. I want you to plug into reality and see what's really going on. And then I want you to make your decision where you want to go based on reality. If reality pushes you right, I'll be disappointed, but so be it. If reality pushes you left, good deal. Hopefully I have adequately informed you about the problems with the left, so you can lean left but also lean against left, meaning you want them to be better than they are, right? Get them to be more serious, which avoids us things like Donald Trump, right? But ultimately, I want my audience to decide for themselves. I'm not here as an activist trying to promote one party or the other, one ideology or the other. That's what propagandists like Brian Tyler Cohen do, right? Not people like myself who have integrity and aren't going to hide things from my audience, right? When BLM, in coordination with Antifa, ambushed the police in Chicago, I reported on it, right? When those crazy terrorists attacked our Capitol on January 6th, I reported on it. I don't give anyone cover. I'm not playing any games. I'm not trying to create some reality where, one side is good and the other side is bad. I'm giving people the raw truth at my expense, because that's not what sells on YouTube. On YouTube, what sells is propaganda. So to Chris Cuomo's thing, why is Brian Tyler Cohen doing so well? Because he's one of the top propagandists on the left, and propaganda sells in America. But Chris Cuomo knows that because he was one of the top propagandists in the liberal media world. This is the Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well.